There's a mathematical equation that has started every major war in human history. Not a weapon, not a political disagreement, not even a person, an equation. A set of numbers that when two countries plug their choices into it produces the same answer every single time: conflict. And right now, in real time, two nations are trapped inside it. You already know how this feels. You have lived it. You and someone you care about had a fight, a real one, and now neither of you is talking. You know that if you apologize first, it might fix everything, but it also means admitting you were wrong. And if you apologize and they do not, if they just take it and give you nothing back, you handed them the power and got nothing in return. So you wait. They are running the exact same calculation on their side of the silence. So they wait. Days pass, the silence gets heavier, and the thing you were both protecting, your pride, your position, your need to be right, costs you the relationship. Not because either of you wanted it to end, because neither of you could afford to go first. That is not a failure of character, that is a math problem, and it has a name. It is called the prisoner's dilemma, and it goes like this. Two people are arrested for the same crime, separate rooms, same offer. If you confess and your partner stays silent, you walk free and they get 10 years. If you both stay silent, you each get 1 year. If you both confess, 5 years each. From where you are sitting, confessing is always the safer move, no matter what the other person does. Always. Which means it is always the safer move for them too. So two perfectly rational people will both confess, and they will both get 5 years, instead of the 1 year they could have had if they had just trusted each other. But here is what makes this more than a puzzle about prisoners and silence. This exact trap, this exact equation, is the reason a Soviet officer almost ended the world in 1962. But we'll get to him. In 1950, researchers at the Rand Corporation ran the first formal test of this equation. Over and over, people betrayed. Even when cooperation was obviously better, even when they could see the math on paper, the rational move destroyed them every time. At first, this looked like a flaw in human nature, irrational, emotional, short-sighted. But then the nuclear arms race happened, and suddenly the prisoner's dilemma was not a lab experiment, it was the operating logic of the Cold War. The arms race was not a failure of diplomacy, it was the prisoner's dilemma running at global scale. Both sides knew disarming was better for everyone, but for each side individually, arming was always the safer move, no matter what the other side did. So both armed, both spent trillions, both ended up in a worse position than if they had cooperated. Not because their leaders were stupid, because the math gave them no other choice. It's the same reason two coffee shops on the same street both stay open until midnight, even though neither one has a customer after 9. If one closes early, the other gets all the late-night traffic, so both stay open, both lose money, both know they are losing money, neither can close first. And this created a second problem, one that goes much deeper than an arms race or a pair of coffee shops. Here's the trap. You assume that deterrence solves this, that the whole point of having weapons is to prevent the other side from using theirs, mutually assured destruction. If they attack, you retaliate. If you attack, they retaliate, so nobody attacks. But think about what happens after the attack, not before, after. If the missiles have already launched, if the damage is already done, retaliation doesn't do anything. It doesn't save anyone, it just doubles the destruction. A perfectly rational actor in that moment should not retaliate. There is literally no benefit. And here is where your intuition collapses. If it's irrational to retaliate after an attack, then the threat of retaliation was never real. And if the threat was never real, it was never a deterrent. And if it was never a deterrent, there was nothing stopping the first attack. The thing designed to prevent war cannot logically exist. That's the paradox of deterrence. Think about it like this. You tell your little brother that if he eats your food from the fridge, you will throw away everything in it. Everything. He believes you, so he doesn't touch your food. But then one day he does. And now you're standing in front of an open fridge. Throwing everything away doesn't get your food back. It just means nobody eats tonight. The only reason the threat ever worked is because he believed you would do something that makes no sense. The moment he figures out it makes no sense, the threat is dead and your food is gone. Now replace the fridge with a country, Replace the food with a city. The math doesn't change. That's nuclear deterrence. That's the logic running underneath every standoff you've ever seen on the news. A threat that only works if everyone believes you have lost your mind. And it gets worse. If you know retaliation is irrational, and your opponent knows it too, then your opponent knows your threat is a bluff. And if they know it's a bluff, they are free to attack, which means the only way to prevent an attack is to somehow be irrational. You need to genuinely, truly want to destroy everything, even when it serves no purpose. So deterrence requires irrationality. The thing keeping you safe is the other side's belief that you have lost your mind. Sit with that for a second. The mathematical structure of peace requires at least one side to be genuinely unreasonable. But even irrationality has a ceiling, because mathematicians found one condition that makes the whole system collapse, and it's the one condition that every real conflict has. When two countries face each other not once, but over and over, crisis after crisis, decade after decade, a new problem emerges. Any single cooperation can be exploited. Any single betrayal can be punished. The math becomes a feedback loop where every move is a reaction to the last one. In 1984, a political scientist named Robert Axelrod ran a computer tournament, hundreds of strategies competing against each other in an iterated prisoner's dilemma. The winner was the simplest strategy anyone submitted. 2 words, tit for tat. Cooperate first, then do whatever the other side did last time. Simple enough to write on a napkin, and it only survives under one condition. You've been in this exact room, a group project, 4 people, a deadline. Everyone agrees to do their part, but nobody works on the last day, because the last day is for putting it all together. So the second to last day becomes the real deadline, but nobody works on that day either, because everyone is waiting on everyone else. The real deadline keeps sliding backward, and by the night before it's due, you already know with total certainty that you're doing the whole thing alone. That's exactly what happens to the prisoner's dilemma when the game has a known ending. On the final round, there is no future punishment for betrayal, so both sides betray. But if both sides will betray on the last round, then the second to last round is effectively the last round, so both sides betray then too. The logic cascades backward, round by round, until every single round becomes a betrayal. Mathematicians call this backward induction, and it means that any conflict with a visible ending is mathematically guaranteed to collapse into mutual destruction before it gets there. The inversion is total. Deterrence was supposed to prevent war. The math says deterrence is the engine that drives it. So how does anyone ever cooperate? There are 3 schools of thought, and none of them fully work. The first is the shadow of the future. In 1984, Robert Axelrod proved that if neither side knows when the game ends, cooperation can sustain itself, because there is always a tomorrow when betrayal gets punished. Make the game infinite, and tit-for-tat holds. But every real conflict has limits. Governments change, alliances shift, resources run out. The shadow of the future is always shrinking, and every time it shrinks, the backward induction starts again. The second is the madman theory. Some strategists argue that leaders must cultivate genuine unpredictability. The appearance of being willing to do the unthinkable is the only thing that makes the unthinkable necessary. It's been used deliberately by at least 2 world leaders as actual foreign policy. Pretend you have lost your mind so convincingly that no one dares test you. The third is the one that should disturb you the most. Build a machine that retaliates automatically. Remove human judgment entirely. If the response is guaranteed by a computer, the threat becomes credible because no rational actor can stop it. No one can call the bluff because there is no one left to bluff. The Soviet Union actually built this. They called it perimeter. The West called it the dead hand. And as far as anyone knows, it is still operational. And this is not just about nations. Right now, somewhere in the world, 2 countries are trapped inside this exact equation. You have watched it on the news. You have watched both sides make moves that look irrational, escalations that seem to guarantee the thing they are trying to prevent. They are not irrational. They are doing exactly what the math tells them to do. That's the terrifying part. But you don't need a map to find this equation. You have sat inside it.
Every time you let the silence win because going first felt like losing. Every time you waited for someone else to reach out, knowing they were waiting for you. Every time you protected your pride instead of protecting what mattered. And the gap between you and someone you cared about grew one day wider. The same math, the same trap, the same two buttons.
But here is the question nobody has been able to answer. If the math says betrayal is always correct, if cooperation can only survive through irrationality or infinite time, then why does cooperation exist at all? Why do treaties hold? Why do strangers help each other? Why does anyone press cooperate when every number on the board says do not? Either we are all irrational, or there is something the math is missing, and nobody has figured out which one it is.